Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and today we are back with another exciting tutorial, and in this video we are going to learn HashiCorp Vault fundamentals within just 1 hour. So by end of this video you will be able to get to know the complete details of HashiCorp Vault, building your dev environment, production environment, everything, and we will cover all these topics. So let me go through the agenda so that you will get a complete information what we are going to cover on this video. So don't no close this video before the end of it. So you watch the whole video to get the complete information, and save it so you can watch whenever you're free as well if you're not able to complete the whole video in a single attempt. So let's start with the agenda, what we cover in this tutorial. So we're going to start with what is HashiCorp Vault and what are the different Vault use cases. We will go through some pictorial representation and use cases to show how HashiCorp Vault is used. And we will cover the Vault architecture, and we'll also cover the different server modes. So Vault can be run in dev mode and prod mode. In one of my previous tutorial, I showed you like how to run in dev mode, but in this tutorial, we're going to show you how to run in production Vault server mode as well. So you can run in a production setup, and you can access your UI, and you can create your secrets. You have a storage running on the backend with Raft. So all those things we are going to see in this tutorial as a hands-on, and we will go through different basic Vault CLI commands. We will have the Vault UI where you can access, you can create different secret engines. We will talk about all these different secret engines. We will talk about how to create KV store secrets, how to update them, delete them, roll back them. So different kind of scenarios. So we will cover the whole basic fundamentals as a Vault administrator or DevOps engineer, what you should know about HashiCorp Vault. So watch the full tutorial so you will get the complete information, and you can be an expert by end of this tutorials, and you can get to learn more by creating your own infrastructures, your own lab, and you can start working on it. So before get to into the hands-on or topic, I would request you, like if you are new to my channel or if you have not watched my tutorials before, just subscribe to the channel, give a notification, enable your notification, give a thumbs up if you like those videos, and let's get started on our tutorial. So to start, what is HashiCorp Vault? So I don't know how many of you have used Vault. If you have not used, or if you have used, let's go through it again as together. And if those who has already worked on HashiCorp Vault, you can put the feedback on the comments for others to get to know if you have more information which you want to share. To give you in simple terminology, what is Vault? I would say like it's an end-to-end secret management system. So in environments, in an infrastructures, or where we have different kind of infrastructure, whether on-prem or it can be cloud environment like AWS, GCP, or different kind of environment we are using in our DevOps or infrastructure, right? For the developers to use all these environments or to build their application, they will have to connect to different kind of environments, whether it's an Artifactory, whether it's another system like CI system. So everything needs some secret for authentications. So all those things will can be stored, and all these secrets are secured because we need to have a secure credentials, right? For all the secrets, and whether it can be certificates or it can be SSH keys or some encryptions, right? So different kind of things which we use in our day-to-day production work for a developer to enable them. We can put all this into HashiCorp Vault, and we can make it more secure. And one of the things HashiCorp Vault is like it's an API driven, and everything, whether it's through UI or whether you're calling, everything is done through API. And we can also manage the access to the secret and make sure that these credentials are not falling into wrong hands with identity-based authentications or security, right? So that's also very important that we have some policies and we have some authentication process. Even though we're just putting into all these secrets, we should have some mechanism to see whether the person who are trying to access these secrets have a valid policy to say whether he can read it or he can write it, or he don't even have access, or can he create some AWS access keys or secret IAM roles. So different kind of methods or restrictions we can put through Vault. And one of things which very important for Vault is like we can move out from a static based secrets into a dynamic short-lived credentials. So with using the Vault, you can have a dynamic short-lived credential, and we can encrypt all this data on the fly or on the go. So this is very important in the current state. So you don't have to put static long living secrets. You can have some lease period, so secrets can expire in every some period which we set, and this can be recreated on the dynamic way. And let me the most important things which the problem what we have is like what is a secret, right? And in our industries or enterprises, these credentials or the secrets are sprawled across the organizations, and whether it's a password or API keys, credentials, the people are storing these into like some plain text, notepads, Excel sheets, or even in the source code of the applications, or whether it's a configuration file or other locations, right? So it's very hard to manage these secrets. That's why Vault is very important from an information security point of view. And before I get into this information security, I want to give some details about what is a secret, right? So just to give you already know like all this terminology which I have used, whether it's password like usernames or passwords. This is a secret, right? We use authentication for different tokens, right? Or passwords. So these are a secret. You will have certificates, right, for different applications. That's also something can be added as a secret for storing. You will have SSH keys to connect to different applications or servers. So this is also can be added as a secret. You will have API keys or tokens, right, which is very important. You will have some encryption keys. So these are all different kind of secrets which we can consider, and there will be more varieties, IAM roles, different kind of things, right? One thing you have to know is like even though these secrets, your name certificates are used in our day-to-day, DevOps or developer roles. From a developer point of view, he may not be much worried about how he is using, where he is storing it. But from an information security point of view, these are very critical, and every company is putting lot of effort, lot of money and people to make sure that there are enough security around different applications, right? Ultimately, if you don't secure your applications, tokens, secrets, if you get something leaked outside, somebody can hack into your application or inject something, and can impact your overall product or even the business, because if it gets applied to some other customers who are using your application, it's going to be very damaging for the company, right? So it's very important to keep all these secrets very safe and to a common place, or the way how we can best manage. It's not that easy, as I mentioned, the enterprise, the credentials are sprawl accounts across different places, and so but Vault definitely makes us to enable the teams and the organization to keep all these secrets in a safe way. Let's talk about some use cases. So we know about the secrets and why HashiCorp Vault, and let's talk about some use cases of Vault. So now we know secrets management. This is one of the very common use case for Vault, right? So what does it mean? Like you can centrally store your secrets, you can make it secure, you can have access controls so that the secrets can be accessed by different application, or whether it's certificates or keys, all these things can be centrally stored. So this is one of the common use case from Vault. We will touch a little bit more on how this works when using Vault, and let's see what are the different other use cases. Encrypting your application. So keeping your application data secured with centralized key management. So what does it mean? Like, using Vault, you can put some encryption mechanism. You can ask for some data to be encrypted, and you can send it back and you can store somewhere. So Vault can be used as an encryption as a service. So you can ask a Vault to encrypt, and then you can store that into some other place. And identity-based control. This is one of the key things which you can use with Vault. trust no one. So instead, use the identity-based controls to protect, inspect, connect, and manage the lifecycle of your secrets or users or machine, service, or data. So what this means, let's consider you have an AWS application and you want to authenticate. Vault can, make be an intermediate to allow you to authenticate. I will show you all these things, as some examples as a pictorial representation. So let's touch upon a little bit to explain these use cases. Let's consider there is a developer, and he or she want to access something, a secret. So what they will do is they will reach out to Vault. For example, we have a secret path called kv/foo/bar, and in Vault everything is path based. So you will ask for this path to be accessed where the secret is stored, and what Vault will do is it will check the policy. So every secrets will have some policy attached where it will tell to the Vault that okay, this person who's trying to access have the authentications or whether they have the access for read or write, and these policies will check that, and based on that, if it says okay this person can get the secret, it will tell okay get the secret for foobar, and what it will do is the vault will send back the information of the secret. So the bar is the path, but the actual value is bash, right? So that the secret bash, the secret pair, like usually it will be a pair base which will have a secret key and that's a value. So the bar is the key and the value is bash. So it will get the secret bash and it will be used to wherever it's want to use this secret. So this is a simple pictorial representation how Vault does it for like a KV path secret usage. Let's talk about a little bit about from an identity based authentication. So let's say like for example we have an AWS resource. So the same way like this person, the developer one, he or she want to use the AWS prod one. It will reach out to Vault. The same way it will check the policy whether this person have the access to create this identity access. So it can create the IAM roles in the AWS, and the AWS can send back access key and secret key back to Vault, which can share to the uh, um, developer. Sorry, it's not bar equal to bus. The presentation is not updated. Okay, updated this like so. Then the vault will share the access plus secret key um, to the developer so they can access the AWS account. So this is another simple case like identity-based access management. So you don't need to have a common access keys or password to be set. For this can create the access keys and based on how the authentications, and we can have dynamic ones. So there are a lot of things which you can do with Vault. So this is a simplest way I want to represent how the Vault works from a developer point of view, and how a DevOps engineer can make use of Vault in between different services and application. We provide access for the developers so we can secure all these secrets and the access levels for different kind of applications. So let's talk a little bit about the Vault architecture now, because now you understood what is Vault and what are the different use cases. And let's talk about a little bit about Vault architecture. In a simple way, if you say like as like a common application, you have an API as a front end for Vault, where everything will go through this API layer, and you have a central core layer, which will be the place where all the encryption and decryption of the vault secrets, everything will happen. And this core is protected by a barrier. And yeah, so this is why it says the core is important, and it does all the encryption, decryption, and everything. And in general, Vault have a storage backend, which can be any storage which Vault support. And by default, Vault doesn't trust this storage backend, and that's why you have this barrier for the core, and it protects everything which comes and goes out of the core. So let's a little bit see how a detailed architecture. This is I took this directly from the Vault documentation, where I have given the link on the below, like developer.hashicorp.com, Vault docs internal architecture. And if you see the center, the core, it's a little bit expanded here. So as usual, like the top is the API and the bottom is the storage backend. And in the center, the core, which is protected by barrier, have more components like secret engine, auth method, right, system backend, routing, audit devices, audit brokers, right, and policies, token stores. So there are different components in it. So I'm not going to in depth into this. We will see about this secret engine auth method a little bit at the end of this tutorial when we finish our production vault setup. So when we go to the log into the vault, we will be able to see what are different secret engine and how we can make use of the KV stores and different secret engines. So this is the overall picture of the Vault architecture. Let me take you to the documentation directly into the Vault page. So I would let you read through this. So this page, about the architecture, it's quite interesting. It will clearly tell you, what this encryption layer, referred to as barrier, which is responsible for encrypting and decrypting vault data, right? And when the vault starts, it's write the data into the storage backend. So it's outside the barrier and it's considered untrustful. So Vault will encrypt the data before it's sent to the storage backend. So this mechanism ensures that is a malicious attacker attempt to gain access to threat that cannot be compromised. It remains encrypted until Vault decrypts it. So as I mentioned, the Vault doesn't trust the storage backend, right? And also you can read through this about, always in production when the vault is started, it's in the steal stage, but it's not the same for dev. In dev mode, we will talk about dev and prod mode. So in there, the vault is always in unsealed stage. And so you have to unseal it, and there is a mechanism to unseal, like using Shamir keys and seal and seal documentation. So I would recommend you to go through these details and how this overall process happens, about how the APIs are working and auditing device. So it's pretty straightforward. I will let you read through this. So that's all about with Vault architecture. So you will have a good understanding once you go through it. But overall, you just need to know, like, there is an APIs and there is the encryption core, which will do all the encryption and decryption, and you have a storage backend. Okay, let's talk about different Vault server modes. So in my previous tutorial, we already touched upon dev mode, but I will be going through that a little bit more here. And we will also see how we can set up the production mode as well as part of this tutorial. This is more important, like you can run a Vault in the production mode by end of this tutorial. So to reiterate for those who has not gone through my previous tutorial about the Vault introduction, so Vault can run in two different modes. One is called dev mode, which is only intended for development purpose, as it says, dev mode, and you have production mode, can be used in QA and production. So in general, as I mentioned, what you can, it's very simple. Like when you use Vault server help, you will be able to see some details like how it works. I will show you this in the command line, and you can see start. You have two ways to start in production mode with the config file, or if it's in dev mode, you just use server-dev, and you can use without root, or what you can use with root as well, which I will show you. So before we start into this, I just want to give a little bit more details about dev mode. So in general, if you ask me, dev mode, you can use it for all this learning which we do as part of our trainings, to just play around, learn some basics, and learn about the Vault commands. But if you see, dev mode is not secure, because as I mentioned, in by default, the Vault is automatically unsealed and everything is stored in the memory. So you don't have, a storage backend for server mode, dev mode, because as soon as you close it, everything is gone. So it stores in memory, and it's also as unsealed. Like you don't have to unseal um, the vault once you create it in like a production mode. You need to unseal first before you can see you can start using it. And even in demo, you can mention, you can default, you can put a root token, so you can just use that token anytime if you want to use it. So the important point is never store production or actual secrets in dev mode because it's not secured. So you don't want someone to make use of your data which you're running in dev mode and cause you issues, right? So just make sure that you don't do that. So let's do some real work. So don't worry about the config file. We will touch upon that in the production scenario. First thing what you need to have is Vault installed. So if I say, if I run Vault, you can see I can see a lot of commands because Vault is already installed. If you have not installed Vault, what you should do is go to the documentation for install Vault, and you have macOS commands how you can run, or you can use the binary. You have Windows, we have Linux. It's pretty simple. It's a straightforward documentation. You just use the binary or just run those commands to install Vault on the machine. Since I'm running Windows, I would show you what I have done it because there is a little bit configuration needed for Windows. So if I open my file, I have created a folder called Vault and I have downloaded the zip file and I extracted the vault.exe here. So just copying this vault.exe will not make your vault running because what you need to do is you need to go to your environmental variables in Windows, go to your path, and you need to add the location where your vault is installed. Unless you add the location, you will not be able to get the vault commands running in Windows at least. So add those things into your environment variable, the path variable, and once you're done, you should be good for running the vault in your Windows machine. Okay. So once you put that, I think once you run vault, you should be able to get these commands. Okay, let me clear out this screen. So let's start with the basic server mode, right? So how do you run it? Vault server and use help, and you will get the, okay, I think it's vault server hyphen h. Yep, so you can see now it shows all the commands which you can use for running the vault server mode, right? So vault server, and you can use some options, and the options example is like vault server with the config file, which is for the actual production, and in dev mode it will be vault hyphen server hyphen dev. And the example, like, if you just run with server dev, it will create the token and the unseal key by itself. But if you want to define your token by yourself, you can use this command. And you can also add other options, like if you want to have a default address, the IP address, agent address. There are different commands which you can put as an option, so you can use those things as well. So let's clear out the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run vault. Just want to show you vault server hyphen dev. If I run this, you can see the root token. It has automatically set a root token, right? So if you're fine with this, no worries. You don't need to define the other variable. You can just run like this, so you can get the unsealed key and root token. But as I mentioned personally before, what I would like to do is I would like to set the token by myself. So if I use vault server -h, I was able to get this one, right? I would like to set the token as root, so I don't need to keep remembering the token. So what I will do is I will just run as like this. So if you see vault server -dev root token ID equal to root. So here if I run it, you can see the root token is set as root, right? Which I have given in the command. So that's pretty simple. The unseal key is created by itself. Now, one thing is, like, by default, the dev mode is already unsealed. So you don't need to unseal it. But if it's like a production, you need to have the unsealed key. So let me create a new command line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say vault status. And you see I'm not able to access this because if you see we need to export some vault address, right? So this is the vault address. It says set because I'm using Windows, but since I'm using Git Bash, I can use export, and I'll put the vault address. And now if I use vault status, you can see the vault status now. It says seal type Shamir. It's initialized, right? And sealed is false. So as I mentioned before, the dev mode, the vault is by default unsealed. So you don't need to unseal the key. Pretty great, right? So we have our vault server running. And you can log in with the Vault login, and it will ask you to enter the token. You can route the token, and now you see we are even logged into the Vault. Now authenticated, token is stored. So pretty great, right? And we can use Vault list. What do you have? Let me see. Vault list -h. Okay, before we get the list, I think we will try to create some secrets so we can list them. So what do we have? Vault. We have Vault. Okay, Vault KB. Okay, let's go. So Vault KB -h. So we can go to the next level. So we can see Vault KB. We can have sub command. We can see like Vault KB get. We can use Vault KB put. Right. So this is the way how we can put. So let's see. We can put a secret, right? Vault KB subcommand options. So you can create or update key named foo in the secret mount with the value bar equal to bar, right? So this is the secret path, and this will be a key named foo. And okay, let's see. So we are going to put this KB put mount equal secret, and yep. So by default in dev mode, the KB paths are automatically enabled. But if you do the same into the production, it may not work because the path to mount secret will not be enabled automatically. We will see when we do into the production. And if you see, the version is 1, right? And also let's see what's KB get, right? What the formula for KB get? You don't need to give the value because the value is going to come from KB get. So you can see when you use KB get, it will give you the key and the value, right? And this is the version 1. Let's change the bar equal to hello equal to world. You can see now it's changed to version 2, and if I say use get the one, it will say hello equal to what the foo the bar equal to bars is changed, right? It's pretty interesting, right? So it's working now in the dev mode, but as I mentioned, dev mode is not the right place to do all these things. Let's learn more about how to create the secrets and everything into the next place where we build our production one. So let me close this screen and I will just exit from this development one so we don't need that running. So let's talk a little bit now more how to set up our production. So we're going to see like how to run a production Vault server, right? So now what we have seen so far is just a server, Vault server dev, which is pretty easy. You just run it and it will work. But in production, if you want to run, you need to have a configuration file, and it's also not that complicated. We are just going to go through it now. So in order to start a server in the production mode, what I did is I have this vault-config.html file, and I will go through the contents of it. And I also created two folders, one for data and one for log. The data will be used to store the storage uh, files, and which will be used in this config file, and the logs I will use it to run when I want to see the logs. It should be stored here. So let's start it with the config file. So we are starting with the listener, and it's the TCP, and the address is to allow the connection to this 8200 port number. And I'm going to disable TLS in this case, but in your production one, you can have a TLS enable, or you can have HTTPS, where have more authentication and restriction. But since this is in my own lab, I'm going to use uh, TLS disable. Okay. And the storage, I'm going to use Raft. You can also use other kind of storage uh, ways. If you can have a look into the documentation, whichever you feel comfortable, you can use to set up in uh, which way. And I'm going to store this into --data, because that's why I said I created this folder to store the contents from the storage to this path. And I'm going to have this an ID for this node, which is called node 1. And I'm going to use disable mlock, but don't do this in production because this is used for some caching and methods. So don't use disabled in production. But in my case, I'm going to just keep it disabled. And the API address, since I want to access the UI using the local host, I'm going to use it for local host. And as I mentioned, I'm using HTTP, not HTTPS, and the cluster address is going to be like 8201. And UI is going to be true because we are going to use the UI once we set up our production one. And don't worry, I'm going to put this information into my GitHub, and I'm going to share the GitHub link into the video description, so you don't have to worry about these config file or the commands which I'm running. I'm going to put everything into the GitHub, and I'm going to link into this video description, so you can go through the GitHub link and just run those commands from there. It'll be pretty easy for you. So if you are clear about this file, just create a file in the location vault-config.html, and now we are going to run our production Vault instance. So I'm going to run the command vault server-config, and I'm going to use the config dot slash vault-config.html because that's the file name. If you are using a different file name, just set that. Or if you're in a different location, switch to the location where these files are available. Okay, so I'm in C Vault and all these files are available there, so I'm just running it from there. And you can see it started instance. I'm going to just create a new X terminal, and I'm going to stay Vault status. And you can see it's not enabled because we have to set the contents, right? So if I go back here, and if you scroll up, you will see what it has done. This is the vault configuration. API address is the one which we have disabled. This is the cluster address, and it's the version. Listening mlock, no, it's disable, and I'm using the storage as Raft and HA available, and this version is 1.18.3, right? Okay, now if you see here, we don't see the seal or unseal key, root keys and everything because the vault is actually sealed and we need to unseal it. The first step is like I want to export the vault address so that I can set this uh, local host to 8200. So vault no, okay, this is the address it's looking for. And then if I see vault status, you can see the vault is using Shamir and it's initialized, but it's sealed. Previously in dev mode, you've seen like seal is false, right? So this is currently it's sealed, and now we need to unseal this vault, then only we could make use of it. So the difference, if you see, like, previously in dev mode, it was pretty simple. If you just run it, it's already unsealed, you can start using it. And here you can see we are using the storage drafts that enable all these informations are there. Now let me clear out this screen. So in order to unseal, I want to create some keys. So here, since it's a lab environment, I don't want to have a multiple number of keys for that. So I'm going to set the vault operator init key share equal to 1 and key threshold equal to 1. But in general case, you can have multiple keys which can be shared across different people, so that if you want to unseal it, you will have to have multiple keys to unseal it. So I told you that you should read through the documentation of architecture for seal and unseal. There's good information how Vault can have multiple unsealed keys and how it can combine together to a common keys and kind of thing. So for now, I'm going to just run it. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about this because I was running this before and I have not cleaned up the old cache, so I will have to clear my content from my old database and then I'll have to redo it. So just give me a minute, I will be back. So I'm back by just cleaning up my database, the old one, and if you see there is a difference. Previously it was showing like initialized as true, right? Actually it's initialized as well as false and sealed is true. So the reason, as I mentioned, I'm setting in the production, since I had an old instance running and everything was stored in the database, it was taking that. So this now is like a fresh production setup. So it's actually not initialized. So I need to initialize it now. So let me run the command alt operator init, and I'm going to use the key share equal to 1 and key threshold equal to 1. Okay, now if you see, it has created me an unsealed key and initial root key, right? So it's very important you just make a note of this, and you can see that it's possible to generate new unsealed keys provided have a quorum of unsealed keys there. So it's very important that you keep this somewhere, and if you're putting into your location and putting into your GitHub, please put git ignore so you don't share this with others. So I'm just making note of this. So without this key, we cannot log into the vault, okay? And we cannot unseal it as well because these two keys are very important. So the next step is I will set a token and vault token, and I'm going to use this the value which I got it from here. So I'm going to set this as the token. Okay, so export vault token equal to and this value. Okay, so I'm just going to run this so it can set what's the token value, and I'm going to use operator unseal so I can unseal the vault production one, and I'm going to use this unseal the key over there. Okay, now you can see it's initialized true and sealed is false. So there is a change now, right? Because previously it's initialized false and sealed was true, right? So now we have the vault ready. So if I send vault status, it will give me the same information. So initialized true, seals false. That's great. So let's clear out, and we are ready for vault. And if you can see vault login. Okay, so token will be hidden first. Okay, so if you run, you need to enter the token which you copied it from there. So yeah, this is the token. I had to enter it to login. So is that so vault? This is unmanaged. Okay, so you're now authenticated. So we are inside the vault login. But this was a little bit different from how we were doing in the dev, right? We had to set up the server, then we need to create the token and unseal the key. Then we had to initialize it first. The server itself was not initialized. We had to initialize to get this token and the unseal key. Then we had to set the token. We had to unseal it. Then use the token to log in, right? And I'm going to show you if I go to the Vault page. You can see I'm into the UI now, and I will use the token. And you can see, voila, we are inside the UI, right? So we have set this information in the our config file, and if you see in the secret engine there is something by default, but we have not created anything yet from our end. So let's try to create some secret. So we are already inside the Vault login, right? So we can try to create some secret how we did for dev. Before we do that, I want to set the audit path. So I'm going to use audit enable, and the file path should be the log folder, and I'm going to set this. So you can see it is created the file, and I'm going to run a command to tail this file. So I'm going to use tailf and use this log, so you can see it started creating the log. And if I go to the folder in the logs, you will see the log folder, and in the data you can see the raft, the DB database or backend storage, right? Okay, so I'm going to create a new terminal. Let's start creating some secret. So as usual, we have used the previous command. We are going to use vault kb put mount equal to secret, and foo is the secret, the path, and the key pair is like bar equal to pass. And you can see it does not allow us, because the problem is it's not like in dev, like the secret paths are enabled. So what we should do is we go to the secret engine, we enable the new engine, and we want to set the kv, right? And I'm going to set the as a secret, right? That's why we want to use the name is the mount path is secret. And you have more options like how many numbers you want to keep, how many older versions should be deleted. You have other options like automate secret deletion. We have different version, previously we had the version 1, now we are going to use version 2, which is the new method of the vault. And you have different options to use default TTL, max TTL. So different things you can set in this configuration for this, but I will simply enable the engine. And if I go back to here, you have something called secret, right? KV secret. And let me go back here and I put, okay, there is some problem. Let me see. Yeah, now it works because the address path was not set properly. Sorry about that. So I had to run the export the HTTP the vault address again, and now it creates the secret, right? And it's the version number 1. And if we go here, you can see the foo, the path, and you can see the secret here, which is a bar, and if you see the value is path, right? And you can see some metadata here, and you can see the path, no, v1 secret, metadata full version history. Currently it's version 1, and if you see version 1 is this, it can give you the overall secret. And let's go back here. Let's do one more thing. Let me put hello equal to world. Let me add 2 keys, right? So now it's the version 2, right? And if I go back here, and you can see it's version 2 now. And in the secret you have 2 keys. One is bar, which is baz, and you have a hello world, right? And the metadata, you can see no custom metadata, uh, last updated paths, right? Version history, you can have the current version history. You can, new versions. Yeah, you can do a lot of things. Okay, let's go back and add one more maybe. Fruit. equal Apple. Now it's version 3, right? Where is it? So you can see it's currently version 3 and you have 3 secrets, right? Fruit version 3. So we can, whatever we see, we can even run like vault kv list. The secret is secret, right? So if you run, it will give you the keys. We have a path called foo, right? Let's use vault kv get and mount equal secret, and the path is foo. Oh, sorry, it's not food, it's foo. Now, whatever we saw on the UI, like the key is bar, and the bars, fruit, apple, everything is there, right? And what we could do is we can even delete one of the, the secret. So what I will do is rather than getting get, I will use delete. And if I use get, you can see it's deleted, right? The version 3 is deleted. And if I go back here, you can see the current version is deleted, right? The secret version 3 of this secret has been deleted, and if you see the path, but you can see still the version 2 and 1 is still there, right? Okay, let's do one more thing. If you see vault kv get hyphen h, we can even see like we can even get the different versions, right? Because we deleted the version 3 and I want to get the version 1. So if you see, there is an option called version 1. So if I go back here and if I run version 1, you can see it's show me the version 1. If I go to version 2, it should show me the version 2, right? So we still have an options to get, the other versions, and even though the version 3 is deleted, we still can have the usage of this. And we can also get back, the delete doesn't means the whole the path is completely deleted. There is a way, there is a difference between destroy and delete. Destroy means it's completely gone, but if it's delete, we can still undelete it. So what we can do is vault kv undelete. Let me use -h, and you can see it's allow us to use some versions. Let's use some samples. So you can see here is kv undelete versions equal to 3, and this should be the one because we are using the new way of doing it. So mount, I put kv undelete version 3 foo, data return to undelete foo. So let's see what it does. You can see it's undeleted right now. The version 3 is back. So it's pretty easy, right? You have all these things we have done. We can even create more engines. So you can see we have so many engines. What we have used is KV, and we can use different names. For example, I'm using another name as KV. The difference would be like here there is no secret stored yet, but if I have to create, if I go back here, if I KV put, and the mount location should be KV, and I can give a name of the path as new, and I will put the flower equal jasmine. And if I come back here, you have a new, and we have a secret called flower equal to jasmine, right? So it's the version 1. So the thing is like, we need to know the path where we want to put. Now we have a two path. One is for KV and this one is secret. Both are KV engines. We can have other ones like the transit one, which is I mentioned about having like Encryption as a service, we can enable this, and we can have methods using for transcription engine to do the encryptions of any data which you want. We have SSH, we have PKI certificates, different lease breeds. You have TOTP, you have LDAP, you have cloud integrations with the Ali Cloud or AWS and Azure, Google Cloud. You have a console database, Nomad. So there are different engines you can use to integrate now, the same way how we did it for KV. You can have the full integrations and you can do those things. So we touched upon on the secret engines and the UIs and the basic CLI command. Let's talk a little bit about some authentication method, what we have it here. So you can see there are different authentication method like April, OIDC, TLS certificate, username and password. There are some cloud integrations, the GitHub integration as well, and yeah, Kubernetes, and you have also like two-factor authentications for for Vault. You can see like how you can do some two-factor authentications for Vault login, and we have also the OIDC integrations, so using different username login. So there are different things which you can play around. I will let you do that, and I'm just trying to give you the overall information which you can do. There are some, as I mentioned, every policies, every vault you can set up some policies. So you can create your own policies and how to write the policies. You can go through this. So I'm not going to do that in this part of this tutorial. That would be an advanced kind of tutorial, but for this one, you can even look into different, kind of all these pages, locations. You can have the monitoring for RAP storage, different client counts which we have, because Vault license is based on number of clients. Whether you have, if you want to seal your node or unseal. So all this kind of informations you can play around through this Vault UI. Okay. So I'm not going to touch up all these things at this point. What I hope you have understood about the secret engines. How do you can play around with KV stores, creating the tokens or secrets in Vault. How you can access those into your applications from these paths, because everything is path based. And I would let you go through it, and I will put all this information what we have gone through into the GitHub documentation, and I will share it in the video description so you can have a look at there. So we gone through the whole list of agenda which we had on this tutorial. I hope I did not miss anything. Covered the whole context of HashiCorp Vault, use cases, architecture, different modes of running dev and production, running in production mode in detail, setting up the configurations and the different Vault CLI commands, Vault UI, which is very important, how to run the Vault UI and how you can set up things in UI, and secret engines that specifically on the KV store, storing the secrets, updating, deleting, rolling back those secrets or undelete those secrets. Right, so everything has been covered. So I would request you, like, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, or if you're new to my channel, click on the subscribe button, enable the notification, so when I create new videos, you will be notified. Like my video, share your feedback in the comment section, and I hope this video has been useful. And as usual, all other videos, I would request you to go through it and make use of it. So I wish you great learning from on Vault and other different topics which I have it in from DevOps on this channel. Thank you for watching.